I was like in high school, I wanted to be like a serious artist, like, you know, like in galleries and stuff. But I didn't have to give up the video game dream. Like, there's good money in tech and games and this sort of skill set. I also didn't have to give up making art or making video games, and that's kind of how Apollo was born. It's like, it is quote-unquote educational, but it's mainly just a good fucking time that's cool as hell.
No one intervened on behalf of...
Good. Get good. Jim Overton, and I'm trapped along. And today, we have a...
Salutations, good people. Welcome to the CS Podcast, where we create stuff. Or if you're Trey,
Money!
Oh, God. Create shit.
I don't know, what if you had 60 chickens?
An inch and a half, that's about that.
It's about there.
You said it with confidence.
Hey kid, that limp was pretty good, but that wince was money.
He's had him throwing a goat, and in midair he's just like, ah! Like, I don't know what sound a Barry Manilow makes.
You know what a hawk sounds like, right?
I do. It sounded like you were trying to say a word. Jody in the Soapbox is opening for Retro Garbage tonight. We gotta get there, man. We gotta get tickets. The first thing we're gonna buy with our gumball money is an animated butt.
What just chaps your nipples? Like, what is it?
What is it, boy?
I don't know, son. It's just a joke.
Gary Bankston.
And today, we've got our hands absolutely full. Salutations, good people. Welcome to the CS Podcast, where we create stuff, or if you're Trey, create shit. And today, we've got our hands absolutely full with yet again another featured content creator, but it's a special one because we got them live and in color. Trey, who are we talking about?
We are talking about Mats Borges. And so Mats, I can go into everything that he does and what it is that we've brought him on here for. The short and sweet of it is he's developed a game called Apollo, a co-op game. I believe I may have butchered that name because I'm thinking of a podcast. But Mats, who are you? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about this game and just yourself.
And welcome.
Yeah, awesome. Well, okay, first off, a correction. I did not develop it on my own. I have a wonderful, lovely team of people, including my boyfriend, Blake LaRue, who was the programmer, and some friends from college, Lucas Schwartzer, our 3D modeler.
Okay.
And Harrison Gerard, graphic designer, art director. Wonderful team, lovely team. Anyways. So
shout out to all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're fantastic. So I'm the designer and producer on it, which has been a ton of fun, right? So I guess we should talk about what the game is for listeners.
Yeah, we can start there. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. So Apollo, a co-op game, is this asymmetrical cooperative game where there's one astronaut player, and they're like on their computer in the 3D environment. We've totally recreated the interior of like the lunar lander with like really like accurately modeled reconstructions of the stuff they actually used in the Apollo missions.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's pretty. Lucas Schwartzer did a fantastic job. So you got an astronaut, right? They're on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have between 1 and 4 mission commanders. So those people are on their phones, on a computer, on whatever is a web-enabled device, right?
Yeah,
and it's like they're recreating the disasters and challenges that actually happened in Apollo's history. Just having this back and forth of the mission commanders have the information that the astronaut needs, astronaut has information that they need.
Yeah.
And together, you're reliving history, and that's what it is.
Now, I will say I didn't get the full experience because I played it solo. But
Yeah.
I will say that was probably the most stressful 10 minutes of my life in the demo. It probably would have been a lot better, like if I had mission control to help me out and calm me down. But it's so beautiful. You start off in this shuttle, and it really is. I mean, I don't know enough to know like how accurate it is, but I mean, to me, I was like, oh god, I'm in a spaceship. Okay, like this is cool. And I was like, okay, I hit this button, and then it just starts venting, and I was like, oh, what is that? I was like, that's not good. That's not good. And I turn around. And I'm scrambling to try and figure out how to fix this problem. And it's just the whole time it's going, the air is getting thinner. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And it felt so real to me. Like, I'm just sitting there. I was like, oh, God. Okay. And I'm like picking stuff up and I'm panicking so much. I don't even see the tooltips pop up. Like, hey, you can dismantle this if you need to. I'm just like grabbing stuff and throwing it at it. And I'm like, oh, my God, stop. And finally, I calmed down enough to like look at it and go, "Oh, okay, I can dismantle this." And I get the little pipe, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm good." And I go, and it's like it doesn't fit. And I'm like, "No, it doesn't. I need it. It won't stick." So, very, very well done on the atmosphere, just the overall design from your whole team. An exhilarating and stressful 10-15 minutes of my life for sure.
I just gotta say, like, if you have ever wondered whether the game developers take a sick, twisted joy out of like other people panicking, absolutely. I am big grin on my face right now.
I was about to ask you, so getting feedback, how you answered my question. How does it make you feel getting feedback like that? And that's great to hear.
Well, Schadenfreude, just like your sick, twisted joy. No, I feel like a major component of the game is that stress, that sort of fun stress. And it's bizarre, you know, like as a person making a video game, I don't know, there's sort of this assumption that like you want to make something that's just good and it will make people smile and happy and it'll be great. But if you really look at most games, they're really about frustration, right? And you take a look at this game, all it really does is put you into like the fucking like oven. Like you're in this extremely stressful situation.
Just straight fight or flight.
Exactly. And you know the weird thing that happens when people get in situations like that in games is they start laughing, like having big smiles and like just extreme like nervous laughter. It's fantastic. It's great to see. We've had some people play the game on Twitch, and it's just fun to watch. I'll be real, you know.
Nice.
So I finished the demo. I didn't die, thankfully.
Excellent.
I noticed
That's most people die actually.
Really? I was gonna
really
follow up and
balance
ask
the game
if,
better, but it seems to be like over 50% die their first time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I panicked, and once I figured it out, I ran with it. I don't know how close I was to dying, but I was gonna say
die.
You will.
I'll die.
Just do it. Okay. I'll guide you through it, and I'll tell you everything wrong.
That's also a valid way to play.
Right? No, man, it's just supposed to connect that. Yeah. But I noticed it looks like actual footage from like Apollo missions. Is that true?
That is
from
true.
winning. That's so cool.
So when you in our demo, if you win and you survive, the astronaut gets some footage that is actual like footage taken from the lunar lander and made available by NASA. And mission control, I don't know if you saw this because you're doing your solo thing, but mission control gets different footage. And it was footage taken in the mission control rooms of like, you know, them celebrating. It's the same radio speech that's going, the phone call from the president. But I thought it was just something really neat to get like a different perspective for the different perspectives, you know?
Yeah. Now I'm going to have to go back through or I'll let Josh do it and he could die and we'll see what happens. Because I would like to see if what footage or if it's just like a splash game over screen or how that works. I'm kind of interested to find out now.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely recommend like getting more people in the game.
Yeah.
The mission command side is between 1 and 4 players.
Okay.
But like the mission commanders are essentially all doing the same thing. There's a fascinating like social phenomenon where you can put more people on a task and it doesn't get easier.
Yeah, correct.
Especially when it's like puzzle solving and like looking through these complicated documents and stuff. It's like it just gets harder to communicate And that's what the game is this like intense communication, you know?
I was going to ask if that was thought of going in, like from the ground up game design. Did you think about that? Well, the more monkeys we put in a room to have to figure this out, it's going to make it harder. Like, is that why you went with like 1 to 4 in the control room instead of just like a 2-player co-op?
Well, actually, like the original plan for this game was for it to be around 20 players.
Oh my god!
And we would have all 3 astronauts, like in history,
Yeah,
and a suite of real mission controllers, like the most important ones, or at least the ones that got the most action, right?
yeah.
But you know, it turns out it's kind of tough to get 20 people into a room to test out your like game that's in development a few times. So we definitely like shrunk it down to 1 to 4, and that has been lovely.
Good. Oh, you just look like you had a question. I may have stolen what you were going to ask.
No, partially, but it's
Okay. So I guess my biggest question is, and we kind of touched on this, you and I got to chat a little bit before the episode. You could have created anything. You could have created a 2D platformer in a sea of 2D indie platformers. You could have created another first-person shooter. Why Apollo? Why this mission?
Okay. I mean that goes into the entire history of like why I started making this game, but I guess that's what you're asking. So,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Expand as much as you'd like.
so cool. When I first started like making games, I was in community college trying to get this degree in video game design. Um, by the way, for all listeners, I really recommend community college. It's just so fucking good. It's just, me and Trey talked about community college, and we just like, oh,
Yep.
fuck yeah. Anyway, so I got this internship working at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum, which is a very strange, bizarre place. All politics aside, it was very interesting to have an office like 50 feet from where Reagan was buried.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
Right? It's a fun time. It's a vibe.
Yeah, it's a whole ass vibe. Yeah.
So I wasn't like actually involved with the Reagan Museum itself. There's the Reagan Foundation,
Yeah.
and then there's like National Archives. So I was in the National Archives side. We were working for the government. And we had this game that we played like at the museum. We would invite the high school classroom, and it was called the Situation Room Experience. So a high school class comes in, everybody gets an iPad, and it's like, okay, you're the Secretary of State, you're the Attorney General, you're the deputy whatever of the whatever wing.
Yeah.
And it's a national crisis. Go. Right?
Oh, wow.
And so I was one of the people who was just like doing the basic stuff, just like giving people the iPads, explaining everything to them and being like, here you go, sir, ma'am, like just treating them with like the utmost respect, with like these high school kids, like they're running the country because that's
Yeah, I
the
was just
game.
say, yeah.
And we're like wearing these like fancy suits and ties and like, oh, here's another thing about it. The actual game takes place in the interior of the 1996 through 2008? 2006? It's been a long time since I worked there. The Situation Room, the actual crisis situation room from the White House, because it's the government, it's the Reagan Library. We had access to it for some reason. And they decided, let's make a game here, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, it was a ton of fun, and we had adults on there. Adult groups would pay like $10,000 for a session of coming in there and playing this game as like a team building exercise, right?
Wow.
And
Okay.
they had the FBI LA division come in. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
That's
but
fine.
They
We'll
had
cut it if we need to.
Yeah, it's cool. No, it's fine. We had the Coast Guard. We had NBC Universal come in. Like a Snapchat came in. So
Snapchat.
So
Interesting.
it was this like awesome experience, but all of the money, since we were government, it was nonprofit,
Yeah.
we took all that money and just gave it as bus scholarships for under-resourced schools,
Oh, that's cool.
right?
Wow.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And like I don't really remember exactly the conversation. This was like 5 years ago or something. Um, but I was talking to this kid from a Title IX school, like under-resourced, and they're like, "Damn, this is kind of like the first time I was really treated with respect." And I was like,
Wow.
that's insane. And like, yeah, you
Yeah.
learn a bit about how the government works and like it's quote unquote educational. That's
Yeah.
great. But I don't know, someone's saying that to me, it was just like, holy shit, I can make games that matter and like touch people and give people this experience. And you know, I was getting my degree in game design, and like, what am I gonna do with that in the games industry? Like, make a fucking like shooter? Like, I'll pass. I was feeling good about myself like every day. I want to
Yeah.
do more of it. So inspired by that, I was like, okay, let me just make a little version of this same game, right? And oh, we'll do it NASA, the Apollo missions. That'd be cool, right? Let's do 20 players. So that's how that started. Um, and then from Moore Park Community College, I then transferred into University of Southern California
Okay.
and started it as a student project there. And yeah, that was 2019. We just sort of like been working on it ever since. While
I'm sure
we
it's been
have
a
like
little
these
bit of
other
a rocky
jobs.
road since then, with everything else.
No,
that's,
not at all. Like it's
Yeah.
nothing interesting's been happening in the past
No.
few years. It's been fine.
Well, that is an incredible origin story. That is
Yeah.
amazing to be able to hear where that inspiration came from, and just the concept of everything
Yeah.
you did there and were able to be a part of. That's just mind-blowing and wholesome
that's
and
very kind of you.
incredible.
It's so much more interesting than
wholesome.
what I had in my head. Like, I thought you were gonna, like, part of me was like, okay, he just really wanted to be an astronaut as a kid, maybe, and like this was the next best thing, you know? Like, I just
You
make
know,
this.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Actually. But for me, when I was 8 years old, it was between astronaut, the person who makes the Lego sets, and video game designer. So I went with the easiest one of the lot, I think.
It's funny that, yeah, that's funny. Well, you heard it here, folks. That's ambition. That's, if you guys, if you want to do something, those are
sure.
your three choices.
There you go.
No, I didn't even like know what game designer was at the time.
Yeah.
I literally was like asking my brother, who was like 3 years older than me, is like, "What's the one that makes the video games?" And he's like, "Game designer?" Question mark. And I'm like,
Maybe.
"Okay." And so whenever anyone asked, I would just be like, "Yeah, I want to be game designer," and it was always fine with me.
Yeah.
When I was like in high school, I wanted to be like a serious artist, like you know, like in
Oh, yeah.
galleries and stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to give up the video game dream. Like, there's good money in tech and games and this sort of skill set. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, all right, I don't have to give it up. Then I got in college, did that whole story, and I was like, oh, damn, education is kind of like the shit, right?
Yeah.
So I also didn't have to give up making art or making video games. And that's kind of how Apollo was born. It's like, it is quote unquote educational, but it's mainly just a good fucking time that's cool as hell. It's hard.
Yeah. That's
what it's
cool that
supposed to
you were able to find that happy medium between two loves of yours. Like,
be. Yeah.
you really didn't have to choose in the end, which is, not a lot of people can say that, and that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
For sure. It's a lot of luck, but it's a lot of compromise too,
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think a lot of people need to hear that. There is compromise involved in that finding, how you can best express your craft and what's going to make you happy, how it's going to make other people happy. But yeah, compromise, that's a big word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Compromise and just mixing all your little, to use a good metaphor, like mixing all your little Lego pieces together. See
Yeah.
what happens
Yeah.
out of it,
Right.
So I know you've been talking a lot about education, and I noticed on your website that there are you offer lesson plans and materials for educators, and not only that, I believe down in the team view, if you go to the about and look at the team, there is I do not remember names off the top of my head, but somebody from USC, I believe, involved,
so-
and then there's another gentleman, I believe. Is he with NASA?
No, he's not with NASA.
Okay.
So our two advisors, who I guess you're talking about, are
Yes.
Tracy Fullerton and Dr. Kenneth Phillips.
Okay.
Dr. Ken is not with NASA. He's the aerospace science curator for the California Science Center.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the museum that has the space shuttle. I don't remember the name of the space shuttle, but it's the museum that has the space shuttle in it.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's also like a physics professor. So I met him while I was working at USC, and he, I don't know, is just this extremely cool guy. And I was like, hey, do you want to like help advise us on this like science and history? Like, you're the perfect person. And he's like, down, sick. He's lovely. So
That's
Tracy
incredible.
Fullerton, I am shocked that Tracy Fullerton agreed to like be an advisor for us. She is kind of like a slight legend, right? She wrote the textbook that most game design programs around the country and the world use, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Called Game Design Workshop. So if you ever like use that, dear listener, like that was this lovely, lovely person. They used to be the director of the games program that I was at USC. So that's how I got to know her and talk about this project. She's also an Apollo nerd, so we hit it off.
So you've got like the best of the best on the team helping you out with this. It kind of sounds like.
Kind of sounds like it, doesn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
That's incredible. My gosh.
It's just, it's so cool. Just that culmination of that team coming together, and the lesson plans and everything for educators. You could basically put this in schools, is what it sounds like.
It does sound like that. Yeah, that is one of our goals, is to like get this into, well, kind of like into the hands of people like the one who talked to me while I was working at the Situation Room, who's like, damn, I got treated with respect. I want to like have people like feel empowered, like I could lead NASA. If someone plays this game and they connect to the moon missions, and if they have the thought of like, man, I could do this, or even better, like, man, I could have done this better, I have won. That is like my ultimate mission, right? Is to get people in there and having like those feelings.
Yeah.
Right. It's about emotion. This isn't like a textbook. It's so easy to just like have a nerdy game like this that's just a nerdy game that conveys information. But this is about like emotion and like giving you this experience, you know? So those are the emotions I want to give.
Which is crazy with technology nowadays. Like, you only get so much through reading a textbook, but to be able to throw somebody into those shoes, and especially, I don't know if you have plans for doing, like, taking this to VR, but if you could throw them into a virtual reality space and literally put them in the shoes of these historical events,
right?
They're not only going to learn, hopefully they're going to feel those emotions that the person in that point in time felt. It has so much more of an impact on someone's education, especially like a younger person that are more malleable and can kind of soak up that information like a sponge. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like on the topic of VR, you know, as a business person, I can't be like, yes, we have plans to do VR. Because, you know, things are like up in the air. I don't want to like make promises that we're not going to be able to keep. I will say we have been building this game with a sort of like architecture that would support VR should we choose to go in that direction.
Okay.
And that's something I'm comfortable with saying.
Hey,
you know?
That's good enough. That's good enough. I don't want to push into revealing any secrets or anything, any top secret.
No, we don't really have any secrets. I just don't want to like be like, oh yeah, we're gonna make it in VR and we're gonna do this and this and this, when eventually it turns out we might not be able to for whatever reason, you know.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that between, you know, starting this project, starting just from the moment you had the idea to
being able to land these two incredible advisors that you just said, okay, I'm at the right place at the right time. Like, was there a certain moment for you that it clicked?
That's a great way to describe it, because that's exactly what happened. So it just started as like this little student project. I just wanted to like make something cool. I didn't have like I didn't really want to do this for the next few years of my life necessarily. Though I did have a great professor when I was doing this as a student project. I had some question about like how to structure the puzzles or whatever. And he just gave me this advice that was like, do what you would rather do for the next 5 years.
Oof.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. And like somehow that was the right answer. And it turned out to be kind of what happened for the next few years. So that's good. But so it started as a student project, and I guess it felt sort of special because in games school, lots of people make games, and we're just learning, it's kind of rare that people actually have a lot of enjoyment playing student games. That's just the truth of it.
Yeah.
So when you're a student and you notice people like having a great time with your like little gray box prototype, you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'm gonna like keep working on this and like do something with it. So we kept working on it and applied to some game festivals and stuff. And we kind of didn't hear back, and that was fine. It was what it was. We made something cool. And then in the summer, we heard back from Games for Change, which is like a huge like thing for us, especially me in the education space of games. It's kind of like the big conference for this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, your ass just got nominated for best student game. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, like I bet there's like 50 students with their student games. And I'm like, nope, there's only 4. And,
oh, wow.
The other teams that we were going up against were like, there's this other team from USC also, and there were like at least 15 people on that team. Like there's another one that's like this graduate program. Like this was like, oh, wait, we actually like got recognized. These people like actually really like our game. Holy shit. Like there's interest here.
Yeah.
That was kind of the point where I decided like, okay, let's fucking do this, And that's when I started talking to Tracy and Dr. Phillips and like really treating it more seriously and being like, okay, let's do a Kickstarter. Let's see how it happens.
Very cool. That's incredible. I'm glad I asked. Yeah, I'm glad you asked too. That was a good story. Oh man, that just makes me happy. That's just one of those stories. It's like, that's just so cool to hear.
Yeah, it's been a really fun fucking ride.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
So, Mats, a little bit about you. I don't know. This question popped into my head. You talked about going back to the Situation Room and dressing up and handing these kids iPads. Do you you into like D&D and stuff like that? Have you ever been to an escape room? Like, I don't know, just a little, just on that trail of thought. While we have time.
So I never played as much D&D as I wanted.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. But definitely like role play is super important to me. Like, that's sort of kind of what this game is. But it's not. It's this weird thing of like a digitally assisted role play, because let's be honest, like role playing is really hard, like just to have that sort of like improv skill set of like, I am this other person. Yeah. And that's what I like about adding this digital layer to it, is that like you have the video game do the hard parts. And you can just enjoy it. Yeah.
That's really cool to hear, because I'm a lot more comfortable with being in another role, dabbling in theater and doing this silly little thing I've done for a while, pro wrestling. Yeah, just a little while.
Nice.
Just a little while. I'm so much more comfortable. I've been in front of audiences speaking as myself, and it's been terrifying, but put me in some tights and leather boots and
call yourself a Scottish Prince and
Yeah, just let loose. Or, you know, auditioning for a play or whatever that is. I'm a lot more comfortable in that. So when you said adding a digital layer to role playing, that's a cool way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in theater in high school, and
Nice.
it was tough for me. I'm a nerd, dude. I'm a classic introvert,
Yeah.
right?
I feel that.
So like having this little digital layer that helps me get into role playing, love it.
We need
Nice.
to we should start a D&D group for all the creators that we interview and just have like a whole party. We could do it.
That
down.
would be interesting.
That'd be fun.
Okay, you heard it here. Mats is down.
Mats is down.
Okay.
He'll be our bard. Mats, you come across as like a bard. You a bard player or you more like a rogue?
I last time I was like a spell sword,
Oh,
but
okay.
I've wanted to do a bard, so you got me down correctly.
Nice. You just give off bard energy. You exude bard energy. I was a bard, so
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Well, I
Well,
want to
Matt,
like do a character that's like something very different from what I actually am as a person, just because I feel like that's part of the value in
Yeah,
roleplay is just like exploring that. So you telling me I have bard energy is like, okay, maybe I should do something that's not a bard. I don't
maybe
know.
I should be a barbarian.
Ooh. Yeah.
Just the big meaty lughead that runs around and smashes stuff. There's fun to be found in that as well. Just letting loose. Just,
I
I
bet
punch
there
it.
is. It's just like so unlike me, but maybe I would have fun with it. I don't know. Never tried
Yeah.
it. You gotta try things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Matt, where can people find Apollo, a co-op game? Where can people find more about you? Where can they follow everything that's going on in the development of the game? Where can they play this? Where can they find more about you if they wanted to follow you, or if you're not cool with that? Where can they just the game?
Yeah. You will find anything you want to know about Apollo on www.apollo. What is my website? Apollogame.site. Yeah, www.apollogame.site. That will give you a link to our Steam page. If you have Steam, you could just look up Apollo, a co-op game on Steam, download it off there. We also have a Twitter at ApolloEXP if you're into Twitter. And yeah, those are the best ways to check us out.
Well,
Yeah.
any final parting words of wisdom that you would like to leave with the listeners, or just something that you want to get off your chest, or if you just want to be like, fuck you guys, bye, that's okay too.
There actually is
Okay.
this little story I remembered in the middle of the conversation. So I was in this class with Tracy Fullerton. It's a game directing class, and everyone comes in with their own project, and I came in with Apollo. And right at the start of the class, she was talking about, her career and what she's done and all this stuff, and she's like, I have this quote that I really like. I have it hung up on my wall, and it's by Wolfgang Goethe
Okay.
that said, set out on your project, and the universe will just conspire to make things happen for you. And she like laid out all these like stories about her career and like all these crazy coincidences and like these just amazing things that happen. And I'm like, okay, good for you, Tracy. That's very nice that all these things happen for you, right? But then we take a break, and so right before the break, we all go around and share our projects and say what we're doing. Then we take a break. Another student in the class comes up to me, and he's like, dude, tell me about your game again. This sounds exactly like this project that we're doing in this other like club at school. And we're looking for a developer for a project that's just like this for the California Science Center. It's
What?
paid. So I'm over here like trying to get into education and museum games, and someone's like doing a project that's just like this. I'm like, okay, that's freaking cool. So I go over. That's how I meet Dr. Ken Phillips. He was working on this project for the California Science Center, and I got to help him out with that. So it all ties back around because the group that I was in was called the Amundsen Laboratory, and the symbol, the logo of the Amundsen Laboratory, is this color wheel made by Wolfgang Goethe, who was the guy who said, yeah, the universe will conspire, dude. That's the wisdom that I leave with your listeners.
That was a cool story.
That is awesome.
That gave me chills. That was wow.
Gave you chills, gave me fucking chills.
I believe in that so much. That's, you know, and you hear so many speakers start their, in your case, this class, but just a speech in general. They'll start out with what they've done and how they've arrived. And, you know, at first, the first time I heard a speaker to lead with that, I had the same thoughts. Well, great for you.
Yeah.
How about you tell me how to get there, when in reality they were telling you with their story how you can get there as well through inspiration. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Good parting words. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hang out with us and just talk about what it is that you do and just, I don't know, spend some time
Thanks
with
for
us.
having me on. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, anytime, dude. And we'll hit you up again later on down the road, just to catch up and see how things are going and how things are progressing, and just see how you are. We'll stay in touch.
Awesome. Yeah, hit me up with that D&D group of create shit creators.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. No, it's been, I wanted to say thank you too, because it's been inspiring to hear your story. Anytime I can just be a part of a conversation that involves a story of this caliber and just that ambition, where it started, where it is now, it's just incredible. So sincerely, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with that being said, we've been the Scottish Hush Puppy, and I got some food to go eat. And until then, my ghastly gang, stay spooky.
Create shit. Build anything. Make it real.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort, stacking penny stocks